Hi there. In this video, I want to walk you through my thought process and my choices around my project called Kortsluiting. Kortsluiting is a Dutch word and it means short circuit. We use the word too to say that someone cannot make sense of something in their head. The double use of the word is exactly what I was after in this project. I wanted to surprise people, to leave them riddled, to make them concerned about safety, and to have them question the mechanics behind it. I got inspired for this project by seeing an Instagram post with an outlet that had water running out of it. In this case, it was quite obviously a mistake, but it had me wondering about how someone could have possibly made a mistake like that. That's why I wanted to replicate it, but then as an effect. I did some experience with a fish tank pump, but it wasn't quite powerful enough. So when I came across a pump designed for pools, that's when I really started to get some interesting results. The result was actually much more aggressive than I expected it to be, but I quite like the direction that this was going in now. I haven't really decided on the final setup yet. I'm still in doubt if I would like to make it blend in with the surroundings better, or that I would rather have it freestanding on its own, giving more weight to the setup. I found out I was especially interested in a few aspects in this piece. One was fooling the audience and playing with their expectations. Another was making water and electricity combine, and the last one being technically savvy. With these things in mind, I came to the next piece in this project. I designed a water tap that would have swapped functionality with a lamp. It took me quite some time and effort to design properly, but the result is very pleasing. I'm using two 24-volt DC power supplies. One is supplying power to the lamp, and the other is supplying power to the pneumatic valve, controlling the water flow. One of the challenges I ran into was getting a sufficient water supply. I figured out that the most consistent supply around is just using water directly from the tap. The pneumatic valve is there to cut the water flow and to control it with just some voltage. Another challenge was to actually make the setup safe to use, and therefore I could not use high voltages. That's why I built the lamp from scratch. It's just a couple of scrap LED strips powered by a 24 DC power adapter. To control the light, I was able to modify a rotary switch and hide it in the tab knob. The way the setup is now, it's still a prototype, but ultimately I'd like to have a complete enclosure by adding a sink and a little cabinet, and maybe a mirror, to sell the bathroom look better and give it a more finished look. Next is a piece where I wanted to combine water and electricity together directly. I wanted to make a lamp that would have water leaking from it. At first I thought I would have to make the electrical parts extremely watertight, but then I found out about deionized water, also known as demineralized water. This is water treated to have all the elements removed that give normal water its conductive properties. In other words, this is a liquid that's technically water, but is non-conductive as well as non-drinkable. In theory, this sounds great, but I still wanted to do some experiments just to be sure. I tried with a motor and a lamp, And I must say, although rationally I know that it should be fine, it was still very counterintuitive to do this. Now, to someone who doesn't really know that much about electricity, this might not look too shocking. To get my point across better, I removed the casing to make it look more electrically dangerous. Also, it's from a different angle, so you can see the water spray even better. Anyways, this wasn't really what this experiment was about. It was about the light, of course.
Is this like a waterproof bulb or something?
No, not at all.
It's just a regular bulb? Regular ass bulb?
It's just a regular bulb. After seeing the footage, I realized that pouring from a white opaque bottle looks like it's not water at all. So then I realized that if you see footage like this, then you already know you're being tricked. So then I wanted to film the same thing again, but then pouring it from a regular water bottle as we know it from the supermarket. So in the end, seeing this fake water in action made me very confident in this idea and in its use for my project. The next thing I had to figure out was how to get water pumped up into the lamp. I did quite some research and I ended up buying this submergible pump that is 12 volt and it has a head height of 15 meters, which is quite a lot. And it turned out to work perfect for my purpose. In this particular example, I'm still using regular tap water, but I think it's time for the real deal. So here in the next clip, I am using the demineralized water and I'm also putting electricity through the lamp. So you can hear my excitement here. I'm really happy that this works the way I intended it to. The bucket underneath creates more or less of a closed cycle so that the water is recollected and pushed up again, so that I don't use as much of the distilled water as I would otherwise. Ideally, of course, this whole thing would look much neater. I wouldn't have a red bucket, but I would have some finished collective system underneath it.
No?
However, unfortunately, I didn't have the proper resources to really build this setup the way I really envisioned it.
Not drinkable water. Not drinkable.
And then to cap it all off, I put on the lamp shade, and now it looks like a proper lamp. And it looks proper crazy too. So this concludes my project overview. I hope you had a decent look into my thought process and my decision making. Thank you all for watching and sitting it through, and I hope you all have a great summer.